Most things introduced in Pokémon Legends Arceus were things that a lot of people enjoyed. I really do believe that the Pokédex stuff, the completion thing, was the one most complained about, and I even made a video about it last week. But out of all of those new features, the catching outside of battle, the movement inside the battle, the free movement with our ride Pokémon, I think there is one that should be applied to every single region and could be applied to every single region, especially after Retro Guys lighted up the light bulb in my Discord. So hey, I'm not so a strainer, and what about space-time distortions? Let's get into it. Space-time distortions were kind of a rare event caused by the space-time rift on top of Mount Coronet, which caused a specific area to be affected both in its space and time. Those distortions bring to the old Sinnoh region, the Hisui region, species that shouldn't be found there, both because they don't belong in that place, like regular Sneasel for example, or because they don't belong in that time, like Porygon. It also brings us all kinds of items that definitely should not appear in that game, like evolution items that are more modern and are even a cause for example, Ingo being there and also us being able to transform Rotom in the various appliances. As you can see for this very brief explanation, the space-time distortions are here so we can have things that simply are not possible in the world of Pokémon Legends Arceus. One thing that is 100% possible is you liking, subscribing and even joining the channel. But this feature had a setup that was a little bit frustrating, sometimes had you wait a long period of time, but when they happened, gameplay became so much more enjoyable. They were like a spawn of adrenaline in the old Sinnoh region. Before I continue though, did you enjoy space-time distortions? Let me know down below. It's impossible not to notice that this space and time thing applies very well to the Sinnoh region and their legendaries, Dialga the Time Guy and Palkia the Space Guy. But I did say that this feature should and could be applied to every Pokémon region, and that's because space and time are recurring themes in the franchise and its lore. Sure, Dialga and Palkia are the big bosses as far as we know, but there's a whole bunch of other Pokémon that can easily play around with this concept. For example, those are Gen 4 Pokémon, but still, we had already opened up the doors to the concept of time travel in Gen 2 with Celebi. Because of this, it isn't hard for the most part to find a way to implement this in every single region. But before everything, we need to ask ourselves, why should this be done? Like I said, it opens up the doors to a quick change to the pace of the gameplay, one that, while it can surprise you, though not very often, above all can be searched for. And like I'm always saying, more options are never gonna be a bad thing. That and these things are like a cheat code to add unusual things to the lore of a game or to the gameplay of a game. We'll start going backwards in time, region by region, because the last one or first one, it just doesn't work very well. But we'll talk about that when we get there. First of all, we start with the Kalos region due to the upcoming Pokémon Legends ZA, though it also includes, of course, X and Y. This one has a very clear option for this specific thing. Hoopa is a mythical Pokémon capable of moving things, be them Pokémon, people, items, entire buildings and islands, anything. It is capable of moving them through its rings. Because of this, it has been extensively theorized that Hoopa will be the one taking the role of the space-time distortions in this game, using its rings to create chaos around the city and summon all kinds of unusual Pokémon and items to the city of Lumiose. This would be a great way to make the city of Lumiose and the region of Kalos feel a lot more alive. And due to the lore and gameplay of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, it can also be applied to the Hoenn region because, well, it kind of already happened when we were soaring on the backs of Mega Latios and Mega Latias. But if you feel like this is not fair to the original Hoenn region, the original Gen 3 Hoenn, I'll give you a new one when we get there. Now let's move on to Paldea. Paldea is another great example of a very easy choice. It is part of Terrapagos' lore that it can seemingly connect different timelines and different points of the same timeline, and that this is kinda done through Terra Crystals. We learned that that's kinda how Paradox Pokémon came to Paldea, but we never saw a Paradox Pokémon coming to Paldea. They were all already there. So, if they introduced in-game events where from time to time the Terra Crystals would go out of control and temporarily consume an area, they could bring Pokemon from different timelines and add the rare chance of a paradox Pokemon actually spawning in front of us coming from its original home. Also, I do know that the AI professor brought some Pokemon from the time machine in front of us, but they came through Pokeballs and I kinda wanna see them spawn for real in front of me. This could also be applied to the land of Kitakami, as they have Terra energy there, and also to the Unova region to a certain extent, as the Blueberry Academy also has Terra energy. That could be some kind of, I don't know, like an energy leak or something like that, and it could be affecting the whole region. But again, if you feel like that's not fair to the original Unova, I'll have something for you when you get there. Now, onto Galar. As we can see during our final battle with Eternamax Eternatus, this Pokemon has the power to bend space around it, even showing us glimpses of other parts of Galar. With this also being implied as the reason why Pokemon appear that much larger during a max raid. We also find out after that same battle that, well, the power of Eternatus does not leave the Pokemon world when we catch it. It is so ingrained in the Galar region that it isn't going anywhere. Because of this, it isn't hard to imagine specific areas being overtaken by max particles, which would in turn cause for a massive surge of max raids. After discussing this with Odd Cypher, another member of the community that is well versed in theories of all kinds, we got to the conclusion that there isn't a very obvious payoff for this specific feature. G-Max forms already exist and are already attainable, and well, there's all kinds of ways to get rare items in Galar. Maybe they could make the odds for specific items a lot better, like the max mushrooms like Odd Cypher suggested. There could even be a higher chance of finding a shiny Pokemon, like in the Dynamax Adventures, as they are kind of the same thing. Anyway, on to Alola. Well, do I really need to say something about this? Alola has everything already figured out, they simply did not add it at the time. Still, any future Alola games should have the chance of something triggering Ultra Wormholes to appear, as we already know that's a possibility from the events of Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Since the only things that can travel through Ultra Wormholes at will seem to be Ultra Beasts or Ultra Space related Pokemon like the Box Legendaries, they would end up being the payoff for this feature as well, with some new ones added to the mix, and maybe some unusual otherworldly items as well. Kalos would be now, but we've done Kalos already with Pokemon Legends ZA and the Hoopa Rings, and so Unova comes right after, or before, depending on how you look at it. And we have to do Unova without Terra Energy, and the best way to do it is to work with the concept of a double timeline that already exists in the region. They could create temporary glimpses to the other timeline. They could make the Black City appear in Pokemon White or the White Forest appear in Pokemon Black. Make both Opalucid cities just switch places, making the way for version-exclusive Pokemon, even the legendaries. I know it isn't as crazy as Ultra Beasts or legendary Paradox Pokemon or whatever, but Unova was a more grounded game. Its plot doesn't have any otherworldly things besides Kyurem, but even then it's something that wasn't truly explored, and so I think version exclusives are really where it's at. Sinnoh or Heisui is the sole reason for this video, so we've done that already, or they've done that already, and Hoenn, we've done it, but like I said, and just like Unova, let me give you an alternative for the original Hoenn. Remember when in Auras we find out that the Devon Corporation has been opening up portals to what is implied to be the original Hoenn region? Well, what if in the original Hoenn region that's exactly what's happening? You keep finding portals opened up by the Devon Corp or by any other Gen 6 researcher that keeps sending to the original Hoenn weird Pokemon from Sinnoh or Unova or any region past Gen 3. They could even just explore the concept of alien Pokemon and just keep sending smaller meteorites that are no danger to the actual region, but send to you some weird virus Pokemon like Deoxys but new, for example. That's really all I got with the little we have to work for the original regions, and now let's go to Johto. The easy choice is, of course, to do something Celebi related and have this Pokemon bring Pokemon from other eras, but Johto has a very interesting bit of lore with Pokemon implied to be from another dimension, and that's who I'm going with. The Unknown are, to this day, some of the most mysterious Pokemon out there, and I really do think that they would be the perfect Pokemon for this. Unknown would rally together and open up a gateway between dimensions, letting you not only catch them, as they're always a fun bunch to collect, but also bringing with them Pokemon from other regions, other dimensions, other timelines, and maybe even more, as they seem to be closely related to Arceus. This leads us into Gen 1 and Kanto, and honestly, there is not a lot to work with here. That's why I said that we should go backwards, because there's so much to say about Kanto and most of it has been said already. Odd Cypher has suggested to do something with Team Rainbow Rocket, but even he admitted that that's a bit lackluster. But thinking about it, is there even anything else that can be used for a concept like this? So while yes, this should be applied to every region, and it could be applied to every region, I think Kanto really is behind when it comes to lore compared to other regions. I really do believe that the lore of Kanto should be expanded somehow, because it really has a lot less than any other region past the original games. So in the end, if you don't take anything away from this video, take away that I really want them to make a Legends Kanto game so we have a little bit more lore for this region. But anyway, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one. But before I go, I want to thank my YouTube members Dash Plays and Yahtzee, and my Twitch subscriber Anubis here for going that extra mile. Thank you so much for all of your support.